You wake up, throat raw, body aching, skin burning. You reach for your phone, you don't even have to think. Water bottle, painkiller, maybe call in sick. Back in bed by 9 p.m. Mildly annoying. 10,000 years ago, that exact same wake-up was the beginning of a decision that could kill you 3 different ways. The sickness itself, being left behind, or your own tribe deciding you were now the danger. No thermometer, no diagnosis, no app to tell you if it's nothing or if it's the thing that wipes out the whole camp. Just you. Burning up, and a group of people quietly doing math about whether to stay. And that math was brutal. Everyone in a hunter-gatherer band pulls their weight, carrying, defending, gathering. The second you're sick, you're not pulling weight, you're extra weight. Not because anyone stopped caring about you, because a group with barely enough food to survive the week literally couldn't afford to stop moving for one person. So humans developed something that's both brutal and kind of brilliant: distance.
Long before anyone had heard the word germs, your ancestors were already flinching away from the sick. The smell, the look, the wrongness of it, it triggered an alarm in the brain that said, stay back. Researchers actually have a name for this. It's called the behavioral immune system, and you still have it running today. It's not just about avoiding sick people either. Studies on this system show the same wiring makes you recoil from spoiled food, rotting meat, certain insects, anything that historically carried a pathogen risk. Someone coughs 3 seats away from you on a crowded train, and some ancient part of your brain quietly goes, nope, you didn't learn that reaction. You inherited it from about 100,000 generations of people who didn't inherit it and, well, didn't make it.
But here's the twist that would surprise most people. Your ancestors weren't always this ruthless about it. At a Neanderthal site in France called La Ferrassie, archaeologists found bodies deliberately buried in what looks like funeral pits. Not dumped, not abandoned, buried, facing specific directions, treated with intention. And the most famous case of all is a Neanderthal called Shanidar 1, found in a cave in Iraq. Blind in one eye, missing part of an arm, clearly disabled for years before he died. A researcher at the University of York named Penny Spiken studied cases like his and concluded the group kept him alive for potentially a decade or more, with injuries that should have killed him fast, injuries that would have made him almost useless for hunting or defense. So this wasn't cold math 100% of the time. Sometimes it was actual, real, we are not leaving you compassion. 30, 40, 50,000 years before hospitals existed, before anyone had a word for medicine.
Which makes the abandonment instinct even darker when you actually sit with it. It wasn't automatic. It was a choice your ancestors had to make over and over in real time with someone's life on the table and 0 good options. Stay and risk everyone. Leave and maybe kill someone who would have walked it off in 3 days. There was no test, no way to know if it was a cold or the thing that ends the tribe. Sometimes it really was the thing that ends the tribe. No warning, no immunity, no time to prep. We actually have a term for this now, a virgin soil epidemic, a population meeting a disease for the first time with 0 built-up defense. You can see the modern scale version of exactly how catastrophic this gets from the historical record of European contact in the Americas, where entire regions lost an estimated 90% of their population within a few generations. Not mainly from war, from disease nobody's immune system had ever seen before. Now imagine that exact mechanic playing out constantly, quietly, in smaller pockets for tens of thousands of years. Every single time one group bumped into another or wandered somewhere new looking for food, entire bands erased, not by lions, not by rival humans, by something too small to see and completely impossible to fight with a spear. The ones who survived usually never understood why. Maybe their body just happened to fight it off. Maybe they were camped a few hundred feet upwind. Maybe pure chance kept them out drinking from a different stream that week. But their kids inherited something from that moment anyway. Not a memory, a slightly better immune system. Evolution, quietly placing bets with human lives as the stakes, and nobody at the table knowing the rules of the game they were playing. If you got sick and lived, you became a walking research paper. Proof this thing could be survived. What food settled the stomach? What made the fever break? What water source seemed to correlate with everyone getting sick 2 weeks later? Nobody understood the why behind any of it. They just remembered the pattern, and the pattern spread mouth to mouth for generations, slowly shaping into rules nobody questioned anymore. This cave makes people sick? Don't touch that water in the dry season. Give the fevered ones space. Burn what they touched. Not superstition, survival data. Running on word of mouth instead of Wi-Fi. Refined generation after generation by people who never once knew what a virus was.
And you're still carrying the software. The wrinkle of disgust when you see spoiled food. The urge to step back from someone visibly sick.
The weirdly satisfying relief of washing your hands after touching a doorknob in a public bathroom? That's not something your mom taught you at age 6. That's ancient pathogen detection code your brain has been quietly running since before humans had language to describe what it was doing. Every hand sanitizer bottle, every stay home if you're sick policy, every instinct to lean away from a cough on the bus, it's the same fight your ancestors were fighting constantly, and usually losing. You just finally have decent tools. They had memory, distance, 40 days on a boat if they were lucky enough to live in the right century, the occasional act of real loyalty towards someone dying slowly in a cave, and a whole lot of impossible choices made so that eventually someone way down the line would get to fix a fever with a pill in a Netflix episode and not think twice about it.
So next time you shrug off a cold with 2 painkillers and a nap, remember, that exact battle used to be the difference between your bloodline continuing or ending right there in a cave in the rain with nobody able to tell the difference between a cold and a catastrophe.